Hi everyone, my name is Melissa van Dijk, and in today's video I want to talk about oats and acne. Now I've talked about oats before, but I would explain it differently now. And the reason is that I now look much more at sodium, potassium, water retention, and the whole pattern of what you eat during the day. Because for me that was the actual solution. And with oats I think that matters a lot, because it depends on what they replace in your diet. If you started eating oats instead of cereal, pastries, toast with jam or other processed foods, then that can be a really good change. But if you started eating oats instead of fruit, potatoes or proper meals, then that is a completely different situation. And I think this is where it gets confusing. You may eat oats for a few days and then suddenly wonder why your skin is reacting. And then of course you start thinking, maybe it is the oats, maybe it is the milk, maybe it is the sweetener, maybe it is whatever you added on top. But I think the first thing I would look at is much simpler. What did the oats replace? Because that changes the whole meaning of the meal. So I prepared 3 examples to show you what I mean. So here's the first example. This is where oats can make a lot of sense. On the left, you have oats with banana. And on the right, you have a more processed breakfast. Cereal, toast with jam, pancakes with syrup, bacon, sausage, and an egg. Now, of course, not everyone eats this exact plate every morning. But this kind of breakfast pattern is very common. It is sweet, salty, processed, and usually much higher in sodium than people realize. So if you replace something like this with oats and bananas, then yes, that can be a really good change. The oats are not doing something special here by themselves. They are replacing a breakfast that was much more processed, much higher in sodium, higher in sugar, and less stable overall. So if your skin improves after making that switch, I would not immediately say oats cured my acne. I would say the whole breakfast pattern improved. And that is a very different thing, because in this example, oats are useful. They make the meal simpler, cheaper, and easier while moving you away from a lot of processed breakfast foods. So in this case, oats can absolutely be an upgrade. But now look at the second example. This is a very different situation. Here you have potassium-rich fruits on one side and oats replacing that food on the other side. And this is where I would not automatically say oats are the better choice. Because if you were eating banana, papaya, melon, pomelo, avocado, or other potassium-rich fruits, and then you replace that with oats, the pattern may not improve. It can actually become less potassium-rich. And for my theory, that matters a lot. Because I think one of the biggest issues for many acne-prone people is not just one food. It's the overall balance of the diet. A lot of people already eat too much sodium and not enough potassium-rich whole foods. So if oats help you move away from processed foods, that's great. But if oats start replacing the foods that were helping your potassium intake, then I would look at that very differently. And of course, oats with banana can still be a potassium-rich meal. So I'm not saying oats with fruits are suddenly a bad choice. The issue is more about the overall pattern. If oats become your default food, they may slowly push out other foods that were helping your balance before, like more fruit, potatoes, proper meals, or other whole foods. And this may also explain why some people do well with oats at first, and then later feel like oats are causing breakouts. Maybe in the beginning, oats replaced cereal or pastries, so the diet improved. But later, the role of the oats changed. They were no longer only replacing processed foods. They started replacing foods that were helping your overall balance. And sometimes, if you just added oats, there may also be a temporary shift while your body adapts. But if the breakouts continue, I would look at what changed in the structure of the day, not only at the oats themselves. And then the third example makes this even clearer. Here you have a real whole food dinner on the left. We have a whole fish, potato with cherry tomatoes, yogurt dip and water. And on the right you have oats as dinner. Again, oats are not bad, But if oats start replacing a dinner like this, I don't see this as an upgrade. Because now you are not replacing processed food anymore. You are replacing protein. You are replacing tubers like potatoes or sweet potatoes. You are replacing fruit. So essentially you are replacing variety and a full meal. And once in a while, maybe that does not matter much. But if oats keep replacing full meals, the diet can become much more narrow. You may get a few of the foods that were giving you potassium, protein, and variety. And then if your skin starts reacting, I would not only look at the oats, I would look at what disappeared from the rest of the day. Because that is really the whole point of this video. Oats are not a hero or a villain. They are food that can move your diet in either direction. If they replace processed sodium-heavy foods, they can improve the pattern. But if they start replacing fruits, tubers, protein, and full whole food meals, they can push the pattern into the wrong direction. So if oats work well for you, I would not panic. It probably means they fit into the rest of your diet without creating an imbalance. But if oats seemed helpful at first and then your skin started reacting, I would ask one simple thing. What did the oats replace? Because that changes everything. So I hope this made the oat conversation more useful. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!